Yeah, we had some pretty key injuries this week. Not only did we have injuries, but we have running backs taking over as starters that we weren't expecting. So the waiver wire is going to be extremely important to utilize going into week 2. Our first guy, I'm going to be very brief because he's only going to be available in about 44% of leagues right now. But if somehow Tyler Algier is sitting out there on your waiver wire, let's all be on the same page. He is the number one pickup. I just don't want to leave him off this list and someone in a 10-team league come out asking, oh, okay, should I not pick up Algier? Go get him. I mean, the man went out there and the man split the backfield with Bijan. He had 28 snaps week 1 compared to Bijan at 32. I mean, if you're going to go over and look at the actual totals, you had Tyler Algier with 15 carries, 75 rushing yards, and multiple rushing touchdowns. Now, the main question is Tyler Algier startable going forward? Now, I don't exactly know the answer to this question. I've been mapping out how we are planning on our running back rankings this week. And as of today, I'm planning on having Tyler Algier as a low-end RB2, high-end RB3, that if you are desperate, if you had an injury somewhere, maybe you're rostering Jonathan Taylor, you can go out there and you can pick up Tyler Algier if you need to. But more importantly, the reason you're going to be picking up Algier is because if Bijan were to go down, then at that point, Tyler Algier would look like a top 10 running back in fantasy. Now, going over to our next name, Diontae Jackson is only rostered in 15% of Yahoo leagues right now. I was very hesitant to say Dion was going to be anything this week. We were saying don't start him just because I actually wanted to see him out there in the football field before we had to put him in the lineup. And yeah, Diontae Jackson didn't really score any fantasy points. He went out there and he only had 14 rushing yards on 13 attempts. But to be fair to Dion, this is a running back that clearly cemented himself as the starting RB when Jonathan Taylor's not in this offense. I mean, he did have 51 snaps in comparison to Evan Hull, only at 8. Jake Funk, only at 13 as well. So yeah, go get Dion. I mean, he's a cheap, bad starting running back. At least you're going to get some volume with him. Now, going over to our next RB, I want to say this is going to be the number 2 pickup, only behind Tyler Algier in leagues this week. Kenneth Gainwell is available in 54% of leagues currently. And Kenneth Gainwell came out and I don't want to say surprised everyone because in the preseason they were telling us he was going to be the starter. I didn't want to believe it. But yeah, he showed that he is the starting running back right now for the Philadelphia Eagles. You have Rashad Penny being a healthy scratch going into week 1. Penny looks like someone that you don't have to worry about. You have Kenneth Gainwell seeing 41 snaps in comparison to DeAndre Swift at 19. Now, if we're going to go through and look at these splits from a situational perspective, you had Kenneth Gainwell seeing 6 snaps on third down in comparison to DeAndre Swift and Boston Scott splitting at 3. You had Kenneth Gainwell seeing a total of 30 early down looks in comparison to DeAndre Swift at 14. And you had Kenneth Gainwell with 3 short yardage looks in comparison to both other backs only at 1. So overall, Kenneth Gainwell is the starting running back in Philadelphia. Now, full transparency, I don't want to come out here and say that Kenneth Gainwell immediately in week 2 is going to be a top 24 running back, someone that you need to go out there and start. But he will definitely be creeping up there. I mean, he'll probably be in our top 30 running backs. And I think he may end up being a play from a week-to-week perspective based on matchup, the injuries to your team, and the bye weeks to your running back room. Definitely a great depth piece. Now, going over to our next guy, he is still the running back 2 in his own backfield. But we are going to have Chuba Hubbard here. Chuba Hubbard is only rostered in 15% of Yahoo leagues currently. And yeah, I thought Miles Sanders would be the 3-down back. I thought it was going to happen, and we were wrong. Miles Sanders out here. 44 snaps in comparison to Chuba Hubbard at 28. And if we look at the PFF snap chart, you're going to see that Chuba Hubbard sees every single third down snap. Now, this is not to say that Chuba Hubbard will ever be startable without a Miles Sanders injury. To be honest with you, you can't start the backup running back for the Carolina Panthers. But if you were to see Miles Sanders get banged up, if you were to see Chuba Hubbard step into this offense, we have seen him excel with opportunity before. And what is most exciting about the Chuba Hubbard profile here is this isn't a backfield where they're splitting it 3 ways. This isn't a backfield where you have Miles Sanders top dog, then Chuba Hubbard seeing 30% and another RB seeing 20%. No, if Sanders were to go down, looks like Hubbard would see every single touch in this offense. Now, our next running back will be a pair of teammates, and I want to be a little bit hesitant. I know everybody and their mom is going to go straight to the waiver wire and say, my top options are Gus Edwards and Justice Hill. In reality, ladies and gentlemen, while I think that's definitely something we should do, we need to be realistic with the range of outcomes here as well. Because I truly do think that at this point, Kareem Hunt and Leonard Fournette are in play. How many times over the past 3 years have we seen the Baltimore Ravens go out there and get an old, dusty veteran when their starter went down? I mean, hell, we've seen this story played out. J.K. Dobbins has gone out there and missed time before. He's missed seasons before. And typically what this coaching staff does, what this front office does, is they go, okay, we'll take Latavius Murray. And if they're going to say that, what's going to stop them from saying, oh yeah, well, we're looking to contend. Kareem Hunt, come on in. We need you. So I do think that, honestly, we can throw Justice Hill, Gus Edwards, Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette all onto this list. And it's going to be up to your taking. Now, I know everybody is immediately going to say Justice Hill is that guy. You need to go out there and get Justice Hill. Obviously, it makes sense. The man had multiple rushing touchdowns, right? If Justice Hill scores both rushing touchdowns, he's going to be someone that everybody wants off the waiver wire. But if we are going to go ahead and look at the PFF usage, you are seeing that Justice Hill had 19 total snaps in comparison to Gus Edwards at 15. If you were looking at third downs, this is where Justice Hill is going to give you the majority of his value, where Justice Hill had 7 snaps on third down in comparison to Gus Edwards only at 1. We know Gus Edwards, not a third down running back, and Justice Hill can be. But to be completely fair at the same time, is the third down role that valuable in Baltimore? I would make the argument that it's not. I mean, typically, we know we like third down backs in full PPR leagues, but that's because typically they get the checkdowns from the quarterback in that offense. And what you're going to find with Lamar Jackson here is Lamar Jackson doesn't really check the ball down. Lamar Jackson, when the pocket collapses, he can go out there and he can run it himself. So you almost would rather have the first and second down back here for the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not telling you to go prioritize Gus Edwards. Right now, Edwards is rostered in 20% of leagues. Justice Hill is rostered in 0%. I think it's most likely going to be Justice Hill, then Gus Edwards in terms of your list of priority. But I want to be very realistic. As of now, this is a running back by committee with 2 bad running backs where this team may still go out there and sign either Leonard Fournette or Kareem Hunt. Now, as we go over to our next guy, let me remind y'all, please, if you have not done so already, drop a like on this live stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. We'll be live streaming tonight after the Bills and Jets game. And if you're going to watch the Bills and Jets game, I highly recommend you go out there and look at the pick'em that you have of James Cook for more receiving yards than Breece Hall tonight. Plus, you want to parlay that with your Josh Allen special pick'em if you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. If you haven't used code FLOCK on Underdog, it's not too late. You can still find the link in the description in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK is going to get you a 100% deposit match up to $100. It's going to get you our 2023 fantasy football rankings and an additional mystery special pick'em. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's dive into our next guy here at RB. This is a running back that I am pumped to pick up. He's actually one of my favorite, I don't want to say sneaky ads, but one of my favorite ads right now. This is going to be Joshua Kelley. Now, with Joshua Kelley, I wish I would have known for a damn fact he was the running back 2 in Los Angeles. Because we knew Austin Eckler doesn't have the profile where he's going to go out there and see 100% of the touches in this backfield, right? He's not Christian McCaffrey. Eckler's going to be a running back that sees about half the work. He's going to get all the receptions out of the backfield, so he's going to be the guy that's the most valuable at the end of the day. But the RB2 in Los Angeles will have a role on a week-to-week perspective. We've seen it time and time again. And with Joshua Kelley, that role this week led him to 16 carries, 91 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown to go along with this. Now, that's not to say, oh yeah, we're going to pick up Joshua Kelley on a team where you lost J.K. Dobbins, and we're going to go ahead and we are going to be jamming Joshua Kelley in here immediately. No, in reality, Joshua Kelley is going to be a running back that it's nice to get the clarity that he is the RB2 in Los Angeles. And now we know that he is the premium handcuff running back. If Austin Eckler were to go down, then Joshua Kelley is a must-start guy. Now, I would rather have Jalen Warren here. How I would probably rank these waiver wire pickups is I'd be going Bijan Robinson 1, then I'd be going with Kenneth Gainwell 2, and Jalen Warren at 3. If you're going to look at Jalen Warren, This is a running back that is currently rostered in 48% of Yahoo leagues. And this is a running back that is now officially splitting straight up with Najee Harris. If you're going to look at the early downs, you had 16 snaps going to Najee Harris in this offense. You had 16 snaps going to Jalen Warren. Now, Jalen Warren is the third down back in this offense. Jalen Warren has 7 snaps on third down in comparison to Najee Harris only at 2. Now, that's not to say it's going to be in all obvious down passing situations. You did have Najee Harris in there for the 2-minute drill, and it makes sense, right? I mean, if they want to go out there and they want to use Najee maybe more as a big-bodied blocker to give some time for Kenny Pickett in the 2-minute drill. But nonetheless, this means that George Pickens is someone that you have to roster. I understand that the overall points weren't necessarily great this week, but you're playing the 49ers. The offense wasn't able to do anything. I don't think that's a Jalen Warren fault. I think that's a Pittsburgh Steelers fault. Now, going over to our next RB, we are going to be looking at a running back that, honestly, I never saw him coming. Kareem Williams went out there and scored a couple touchdowns this week, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all know we've been screaming to sell Cam Akers. I wasn't screaming to sell Cam Akers because we were expecting Kareem Williams. I was not expecting this in the slightest. I was just saying, okay, Akers has never been good in fantasy. At the end of the day, this is a very bad offense. I mean, Akers is highly inefficient, and we saw that this week. Cam Akers went out there, 22 rush attempts, 29 rushing yards. And people wonder why Sean McVay doesn't like the guy. He's just not good. You can blame it on the torn Achilles because I actually like the guy coming out of Florida State, if I'm going to be honest with you. But nonetheless, Kareem Williams saw every single snap in the 2-minute drill. Kareem Williams saw 12 snaps on third down in comparison to Cam Akers at 2. Kareem Williams also saw the majority of looks overall, where he played 53 snaps in comparison to Cam Akers at 28. He ran 29 routes in comparison to Cam Akers at 4. Cam Akers does not look startable in fantasy, ladies and gentlemen. I would be much worried about Akers than I would be with Najee Harris. Because in the case of Najee, at least you still have the 2-minute drill. At least it's close to a 50-50 split. Whereas Kyron is just coming out and crushing Akers at this moment. So I think you pick up Kyron. I think if Cam Akers were to go down, then Kareem Williams turns into a must-start RB. And another running back that was a surprise to lead his backfield in snaps, Tyjae Spears played more snaps than Derrick Henry. Now, it wasn't some big difference like you had with Kareem Williams and Cam Akers. You only had Tyjae Spears 34 snaps comparison to Derrick Henry at 30. Full transparency, this is not what you're going to expect going forward. You are going to expect that Derrick Henry's the guy. You're going to be expecting Derrick Henry to get the majority of the work. But with Tyjae, he did end up seeing 11 snaps on third down in comparison to Derrick Henry at 0. With Tyjae, you did see him go out there and have 15 snaps on early downs in comparison to Derrick Henry at 23. So his role is real, ladies and gentlemen. He is the third down back here for the Tennessee Titans. If you're in a 14-team format during a bye week stint, if you're really desperate, you could go out there and start him. Obviously, this is going to be more so for a league where if Derrick Henry were to go down, full PPR format, you get a third down back in here that will all of a sudden maybe see an additional bump in 10 carries per game, and then he is startable at that point. But as a Derrick Henry drafter on Underdog when we were getting him at the 2-3 turn, I'm a little bit worried about this usage with Derrick Henry. The offense looks horrendous with Tannehill. I know this game was just such a train wreck. Maybe you can't take anything from it. But for Tyjae Spears in his first NFL game ever to see more snaps than Henry, it's definitely something that's worth pointing out. But I think that's all I have for you, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thank you so much for being a member of the flock and supporting the channel. I really hope you're able to get something out of this. Really hope we are able to help you out in some way. And as always, please make sure you go down there, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And we will be live tonight if you want to check out any of these pick'ems on Underdog Fantasy for tonight's game. Like I said, this will be my favorite pick'em right here. You can use promo code FLOCK and they'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Plus, you'll get our 2023 fantasy football rankings, a free trial to flockfantasy.com. And if you use promo code FLOCK, you're going to get a 100% deposit match up to $100. You get an additional mystery special pick'em on top of that. And one last thing while I have you, we are hiring at flockfantasy.com. We're looking for developers. We're looking for data engineers to build out some of the coolest fantasy football tools in the industry. If you're interested, here's where you reach out to me. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate you. I really hope you have a great day, and I really hope that we get to see you out with the live stream later tonight.